Okay, so Pokemon has had loads of different games, from spin-offs to main series games, and even to mobile games. The Pokemon franchise has truly grown and prospered, but today I thought we could talk about some potential future Pokemon games that we might get in 2017. Do remember these are speculations and are not facts, and also if you do not agree with my opinions, then please just leave a comment below telling me what you think might be a Pokemon game that you would want to potentially be released in 2017. Either way, let's get right into this list. Number 5. Now, coming in number 5, we have ourselves Generation 8 games. Now, the reason why I put possible Gen 8 games on the bottom of this list is because we have zero information or clues that this could happen. There is just a very low likeliness that Game Freak will release Gen 8 the year after Sun and Moon got released. It's very unlikely, feeling that, Sun and Moon are Gen 7. Why would they release Gen 8 right after? Then again, I put it in the list because you never know. You never know what Game Freak could do. And if they were to release Gen 8, it would probably be sometime around 2018 or 2019, or maybe in 2020, as having another generation so quickly after Gen 7 being released would just really not work out with Game Freak, and it would just really not work out with how their previous releases have worked. All their previous titles usually have about 2 or 3 years, or maybe 1 or 2 years in between main new generations. But of course, you never know what could happen, and I feel like maybe 2019, 2020, or 2018 might be when we see another generation. But then again, we can always hope for these things, and we can always hope that a new generation of Pokemon might be coming real soon. Number 4. Now, coming in number 4, we have ourselves a new Pokemon Stadium game. Now, it's been close to 17 years since we saw the last Pokemon Stadium game. Of course, that is if you look past the Pokemon Battle Revolution game, which was released to the Wii U back in 2006. So why have there been no more Pokemon Stadium games? I really do feel like with the coming of the new generation of consoles, so the new generation of Nintendo consoles being the Nintendo Switch, the potential for a Pokemon Stadium game, or perhaps a remake, is so much more likely. With Pokemon's rise in 2016 again, with the releases of Sun and Moon, as well as the worldwide phenomena of Pokemon Go, the popularity of Pokemon has risen again. And I think a Pokemon Stadium game for the Nintendo Switch would be amazing, and it would rekindle a great old Pokemon spin-off series. Why there have been no releases for Stadium for this time? Maybe because of the flop of the latest few games for the main home console releases, being, with the Wii U being a flop, and Pokken Tournament, which barely hit the sales chart and only sold about 1 million copies, which is horrible and definitely one of the worst sales figures for any Pokemon game ever. This could mean that we might not see another Pokemon Stadium game, and it really could mean that we might not see any more main series games for consoles, other than, maybe perhaps a, Pokken Tournament will be coming definitely probably to Switch, but will we be getting a new Stadium game? I feel like we do deserve one. It would really be sick to see Pokemon Stadium in better graphics, in the Nintendo Switch graphics. Just a new rekindling of an old franchise that a lot of people liked. The Pokemon Stadium franchise had 2 releases, Pokemon Stadium 1 and Pokemon Stadium 2, which both sold really well, with the original first game selling over 6 million copies and the second release selling around 3 million copies. It was a very, very good franchise and a very, very good spin-off series that did pretty good. And I feel like with just the new fan base and the new rekindling of the community from Pokemon Go and Pokemon Sun and Moon, I feel like Pokemon Stadium could do really well on Nintendo Switch, as the Nintendo Switch looks to be a very, very successful console. Either way, let's go to the next one. Number 3. Now, coming at number 3, we have ourselves a new Mystery Dungeon game. Now, Mystery Dungeon is a beloved franchise and has always been neck and neck with the main series games from Game Freak. But the last time we saw a release of a Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game was Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, which was not well received by the community. People felt like the game strayed too far off from what it used to be. The new style and the new weak story did really not help the game's sales, which only came in at about 1.37 million copies sold, which is still good, but is nothing in comparison to the old releases such as Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team, which sold over way over 6 million copies and were critically acclaimed games and had a cult following behind them. And the releases of Red Rescue Team and Blue Rescue Team really proved that the just Mystery Dungeon series could do well on its own, and every release up to Super sold well and had just generally a good reception. But Super really ruined that, just with the weak story and the game just having a bad reception with the players. So now my question is, will we perhaps see a new Mystery Dungeon game into the franchise now with the new Alola region? This is a very hard thing to predict, as the series has not seen anything new or any news about itself for the last year or two, and it's unsure if the game will be getting any releases in 2017, but who knows, perhaps, you know, with the new capabilities of the Nintendo Switch, we might get an amazing Pokemon Mystery Dungeon game for the brand new generation of Nintendo consoles, aka the Nintendo Switch. But either way, that's still speculation. I really do hope we see a new Mystery Dungeon game. It would be amazing. I played Red Rescue Team as a kid. That thing was amazing, and I really would love to see another iteration to this spin-off series. Let's go to the next one. Number 2. Now, coming in number 2, we have ourselves Coliseum. Now, back in 2003, Pokemon Coliseum was released for the GameCube, and frankly, it was a very well-received game, which sold over and around 3 million copies at its time. And at its time, this was pretty decent sales for the GameCube, and would put a staple for future games to come from the Pokemon franchise. The game was very interesting. It was one of the first times that was in 3D and had the capabilities of you walking around in the game, which something like Stadium didn't have, even though it was in 3D. So it's very interesting just kind of looking at this game in just a retrospect. This was a huge inspiration for what then we got in the last 2 generations, which would be Omega Ruby, X and Y, and Sun and Moon. They were a huge inspiration to us that, and this was one of the first games that tried to use that 3D style to them. And I really am interested in like how they would remake this game, because I feel like if it was to come to the Nintendo Switch, it really would work on that console. And again, I know I keep mentioning the Nintendo Switch, but it's definitely the one console I can imagine something like this game would come to. Not the 3DS, as the 3DS already has the main series games as well as the, you know, the Mystery Dungeon games, but the Nintendo Switch doesn't have any main series Pokemon games on them, or just generally the home consoles never have main series games on them. So what about having something like Coliseum to make up for that missing main series game? I feel like that would really work out. It would be great and really interesting. Since many kids have not played Coliseum and it was a great game, why not just have it come back again in Nintendo Switch? Now, Coliseum may not have sold that many copies and that many millions, but it's still one of the highest grossing games from the franchise, so I really do hope it gets a new release and a sequel for the Nintendo Switch. Number 1. Now, coming at number 1, we have ourselves Diamond and Pearl Remakes. So back in 2006, we got a pair of games that turned everyone's eyebrows up. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl were super well received games and had a lot of love given to them by the Pokemon community. The games introduced new characters and of course a ton of new Pokemons. So why would this be on the first place, you might ask? Well, it's mostly because it's the most likely thing to happen. Pokemon Diamond and Pearl are currently close to 11 years old, and if Game Freak decides to follow the pattern of games that we've kind of seen up until now, then this is what probably would happen. The current list of Pokemon remakes are Fire Red and Leaf Green, which were remakes of Red and Green. Now, then after that we had Pokemon Soul Silver and Heart Gold being remakes of Generations 2's Pokemon Silver and Gold. And after that, we have remakes of Ruby and Sapphire being Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire from Generation 3. So next on the line would be Generation 4, as they are the next generation right after Ruby and Sapphire from Gen 3. So definitely, we would have to see Diamond and Pearl, just based on how the releases have worked so far. So when could we see Gen 4 happen, and you know, when could we see Gen 4 remakes of Diamond and Pearl come? Well, I think 2017, to be honest. Just consider it this way. Consider that the releases of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire were 1 year after X and Y, and they were also announced 6 months after X and Y were created. So it shows that the Game Freak would definitely go for another huge release right after they release a main generation. So a remake right after the new generation would definitely probably happen, and will also extend really well and really work with the whole new like parallel universes and different dimensions theme we got going in Sun and Moon. Like we've also seen in things like Diamond and Pearl, we have the distortion world where Giratina resides, and we've also had a few hints here and there towards Diamond and Pearl remakes. So my thought in my head is definitely that we might see this. Of course, also with there being no new megas in the Alola region and the Sun and Moon releases, definitely will be probably megas released for the new Diamond and Pearl remakes. I just have a feeling, because think about it this way, X and Y had new Mega Evolutions. Then Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire had new Mega Evolutions, but then we had no new Megas for Sun and Moon, which makes me believe that from now on, Game Freak might only release Megas to games that are already out. Essentially, old generations. Of course, that's also just speculation, but I'm very hyped to see what's going to happen in 2017. I'm very excited, but of course, this is no guaranteed. We never know if this is even going to happen, if we're going to get remakes and whatnot. But if you do agree with me, please let me know in the comments. But then again, we do not know when this is going to happen. I really do hope we see a remake in 2017. But that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, smash the like button below. Let me know in the comments as well. Do you guys think there's any specific games you would like to see remakes of, or any future Pokemon games you really are excited to see happen, perhaps, you know, in 2017 or 2018? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to see what you guys have to say down there. And either way, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed, smash the like button, leave a comment, and subscribe for future videos. My name has been Ruffle Rowlet. I'll catch you traders the next time. Peace out.